G'day everybody. You're listening to, watching, or both to the Go Orange for Muscular Dystrophy Tasmania podcast. I'm the charity's patron, Peter G. This podcast promotes the good work of Muscular Dystrophy Tasmania and the inspiring people determined to improve the lives of those with neuromuscular disorders, from research, therapies, volunteering, fundraising, and more. Today, for episode 4 of Go Orange for Muscular Dystrophy, the podcast, we're talking to one of our most dedicated and long-serving fundraisers. He's a Tasmanian born and bred, and he is Craig Davis. Now, if you've got a long memory, you might have heard that name and you're a footy fan. I'll just go a little bit through his CV. 4 VFL clubs from 1973 to 1988, 163 games in total, 360 goals, leading goal kicker at Carlton, his first club in 1974. For Collingwood in 1979 and 1980, so close to winning a flag with them in 79. We'll talk to that at some stage, I'm sure, at length, if I know Craig. Tasmanian State of Origin rep in 79. Prior to that, he travelled up the highway, a much-travelled route for his family from the seat of Ross to Launceston to play for 22 games for the Blues in 72 before Carlton picked him up. Inducted into the Tasmanian Football Hall of Fame in 2014. Then, after he retired from playing the game, a very successful career in footy administration. You name it, Craig Davis has done it. Craig, great to have you on the pod.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Pleasure to be here. And it's interesting when you put it all in terms. It's been a long journey. 53 years ago I left home and I've come back home.
But you were always destined to play footy with a father like Bob, weren't you? Who also has the nickname Boofa as well.
Yeah, look, Dad was a champion footballer in Ross, and then went to Launceston and won a premiership there, won a best and fairest. But he just didn't get the opportunity that I got. And no, I do follow in the footsteps. And look, when you're half a Croswell, half a Davis, the breeding was there. Look, I just
turn a rock over in Ross, and there's either a Croswell or a Davis underneath it. You had your cousin Brent already at Carlton when you went there.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Yeah. So some big that you would have come with a reputation.
Yeah, look, I remember Doug Hayward used to call me, didn't call me Craig Davis, he used to call me Brent Croswell's cousin for years and years, and we used to laugh about it. But Brent was certainly an idol of mine when I was growing up. He's 4 years older. He'd already won 2 premierships at Carlton when I got there, and to have him at the club certainly made it a lot easier. I lived with Brent for the first couple of years, so it was made it a lot easier for me to go from a town of a couple of hundred people to millions of people. And it was... look, I don't think I was ever destined to play footy. I just played footy at the highest level I possibly could and played the best I could. What happened
and
then...
one thing led to another.
Yeah,
you didn't really, we talk about goal setting a lot of things. Oh, you set a goal, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, then I'll do that. That wasn't your way of thinking.
No, it wasn't. No, Darryl Baldock was my hero. And I got to meet Darryl at a clinic in 1967 at Youngtown. And I just enjoyed meeting him and my hero. Was he the best footballer that Tassie's produced? Oh, yes, in my mind, yes. But there's been some others as well. Look, I just wanted to be like him and be as good as him. But where it took me, it didn't really matter. If I played great football at Ross, it would have been enough for me. Or Launceston, it just happened. The cards fell in my way. And playing good footy.
Yeah, I think you had a bit of talent.
Oh, look, I suppose. Look, I knew I was okay, but I was lucky. I mean, my first senior game at York Park, I kicked 8 goals 2 on the state fullback and Chocker Watley. He was going to knock my block off, and I said, "You got to catch me first." So I learnt to run a lot.
A young rabbit from Ross, because rabbits had a bit to do in your family, didn't you? I mean, you did it. The family did it tough in the early days. Your dad was
Dad was a rabbito.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got back from the war, and they didn't want him to go into town to play football. So Colonel Cameron, who's one of the landowners, gave Dad what called the 5 mile, and it was a rabbit run. And Dad spent 4 or 5 years out on the rabbit run, and saved up all his money selling the skins and the pairs of rabbits to became his father-in-law in the end, but he wasn't back then. That was 46 right through to 1950, and then Auntie Sadie said she's moving into town, and the house was sold, and Dad had the cash. And I've now moved back to the house I was born in.
Yeah, it's come the full
circle. But that's what happened. Dad won a best and fairest 46, 47, 48, runner-up 49, best and fairest 50, won a premiership with Launceston, the Jubilee year 51, won the best and fairest for 52 at Launceston. Only played 7 games both years. And you got Batty Martin and Noel Atkins and Darryl Croswell, Lance Croswell, all playing 18 games. And I asked Uncle Darryl, he said, well, your dad played 14 games for us. Never trained with them, got on the train, went in and played.
Well, he was doing hard physical work, wasn't he?
He was. And he played 2 games for the NTFA, both years, 50, 51, 52. So look, when you put those stats together, Dad was equal or even better than Brent and I by a long way. Those stats are phenomenal.
Yeah.
To represent, Launceston and represent NTFA, down here in Hobart. So, yeah. And I asked him why he didn't win the best and fairest in 49. He said, well, I was captain coach, I couldn't vote for myself. And he finished playing in 64.
So he had a vote each week, yeah.
That's right, he had a vote.
Yeah. Footy, we're going to weave that right through our conversation today. Yeah. But your relationship with Muscular Dystrophy Tasmania, how did that come about?
Well, it started with Camp Quality originally, and Vinnie Goldsmith was on the executive team, and they had the golf day, which is done 23 years at Claremont, and we're just out of the blue. I got a phone call from Vinnie on a Thursday. Dougie Hawkins was going to be the guest speaker for the golf day at Claremont, and it was about 16, 17 years ago, and something happened, and
so you were at
I was in New South Wales. I was CEO of the New South Wales AFL.
So they hit you up for some memorabilia to auction?
No. I just got a phone call on a Thursday because a guy called Peter Kaminsky was the general manager of the QAFL, and it was Vinnie's best mate. And Vinnie didn't have a guest speaker, and Peter said, "Oh, ring Boofa. He's a Tasmanian, you never know." And I thought, okay, and he outlined what was happening, the golf day, da-da-da. And I said, well, of course, just let me know. When? He said, it's tomorrow. And this is lunchtime.
Well done, Vinny.
Vinny, we have fantastic. Vinny, I said, well. And he said, what's that? So I booked your ticket. I said, and I'm going, so this...
I think he must have known you that Boofa finds it very hard to say no.
Oh, well, I think there's always... it's my philosophy in life, even in work and in life, is to say, well, there's got to be a way. And when I found out it was Peter Croswell was the CEO of Camp Quality, Pete's a hero from Port Arthur, of course, a cousin, of course, and I thought, well, why not? I got to help. You judge what you do, not what you say. And I said, well, I'm on my way, and I was moved what they did. The golf day was brilliantly put together. I hit it off with Vinnie and Dale Butters. And it was a great day. I met a lot of the kids, and people say to me, why am I involved with so many charities? And I said, well, I'm lucky. I've got 5 beautiful kids. I jokingly say, good looking like me and athletic like me and intelligent like me, but that's a bit of BS. But I'm lucky, so why wouldn't I help the unlucky people? And I thought, well, I'm going to keep coming back. And it was good for me because I had a reason to come home and see Dad. So I spent, Easter with Dad every year.
The golf day is on Good Friday.
It was on Good Friday, and I thought, and then I helped in a sense. I with guest speakers, I knew got Sheeds and Stan Alves and Brent and.
But VFL or AFL footy as it is now, the contacts that you must have made through your more than a decade playing the game. I mean, did you notice the charity element even back in the 70s? Was it as pronounced as it is now in the community involvement with footy clubs?
Not as profound, but it was there. Guys like Harry Beitzel. I don't know, Big H had me in his back pocket for some way, but he got Teddy and I do some long trips.
Teddy Whitten?
Teddy Whitten, yeah. Mr. Football. Yeah, well, imagine an 18-year-old boy from Ross, Mr. Football. Thursday night at my first training session, and he said, I've got a pair of boots. And I said, Mr. Whitten, how much do I owe you? He said, I'm going to give you a pair.
Because he was the rep for Adidas.
He was general manager of Adidas.
Was he? Yeah, more than just the rep. He ran the show.
So he had a pair of footy boots for me, tracksuits and sand shoes. And
so you
runners.
didn't have a gear sponsorship?
No.
What about the club? Were they happy to see you in Adidas, or you could
Well,
wear
they
whatever
didn't
you
wear
liked?
we want, yeah.
Really?
So,
Okay,
yeah.
it's much
So
different.
he was fantastic for me, Teddy. Over decades, we formed a really strong relationship.
So you and he headed off with Harry, did you, up country?
Yeah, up country, a number of occasions. So, one boy at Balranald, which is country New South Wales, become a paraplegic, and they had a big fundraiser. So we did a few miles to get up there, and we did a few trips. But Harry was, he was connected. I remember the old three of Billy Jacobs and Tommy Laugh. You there, Harry? You there, Harry? But yeah,
Magic days.
Look, I was blessed. I've been blessed in life. I've met some unbelievable people.
Well, we've got the Big Freeze beanie, the one that's out for the game that's coming up
Number
in a few
12.
weeks as we record this program in the week in which Neil Danaher has died. You must have crossed paths with Neil many times. There's few things that can be said about him that probably haven't already been said, but personally, your recollections of the man and what he's come to mean in the whole Australian community.
Well, I think he's touched so many people. I think his words are, when things are said and done, more is said than done, which is a negative. Then it says, a person is judged by what they do and not what they say. I was fortunate enough to have, he was an opponent. He started his football career in 1979. He played 3 years. So I played him on a number of occasions, and I likened him to Bruce Dool. Very fair, but very talented, and got the better of me on more than one occasion. So I think he played 66 games in his first 3 years, and in those 3 years I played 74. So we were against each other a number of times. We played each other twice a season.
How would you? What's the ledger, do you reckon?
Oh, I think he was in front, and he was way in front.
What was the hallmark of his defensive game?
Oh, just ability. He was very, very talented. If he hadn't got struck down, he was going to be the greatest Danaher. But don't forget the four of them, Anthony and Terry and Chris and Neil, they played over 700 games of football. And, he was cut short. He had 3 knee reconstructions. And back in the day when, surgeons sort of, bit of hope and things like that. But no, they were fantastic. And I had an unbelievable relationship with Terry when he went to New South Wales coaching. And his parents, Jim and Edna Danaher, they've got seven girls and 4 boys on the farm in Ungary. And they ran the Northern River Football League, which, as you know, I was general manager of New South Wales AFL, and I had decades working with them in the country building the game, and they were involved as president and secretary of that league for decades.
But they were more aligned to Victoria, weren't they? Even though they're in New South Wales.
Yeah, well, that took me a while, but Jim.
Well, you turned.
I turned. I was always going to win. Condobolin and Ungary's 500 k's from the border, but Jim just got involved with the VCFL because it was economically smart. But I turned him over. But I said, look, I'll send you. I'll fax you paperwork to sign over. He said, if you want my signature, you'll have to drive out. So I had to drive to the Condobolin Railway Hotel, which is a 7-hour drive. Got his signature, had a couple of beers with him and the ruse shooters, and then drove back. And then
this is like frontier stuff when you were in New South Wales. This is post your footy career. You've played at the Swans. You've made a comeback. You've gone into administration. Was that always in your mind that you end up with CEO of a state's football in a market that was very important to the AFL?
Well, no. I was a qualified surveyor working in a job in Melbourne, the MMBW, the Melbourne Board of Works. I had a degree. I had a family. Had 2 kids. Had everything was fine. Did my knee. Worked with Collingwood in the Jock McCall job with Dougie Gott. Everything was rosy for me in Melbourne. I was, but I was.
You were headhunted, were you?
Yeah, well, I did get headhunted. Out of the blue, it was Melbourne Cup morning, 1985. Alan Arlett, president of the AFL, rang me up, and he was the president of North Melbourne when I was there. And I said, Alan, how are you? Why are you ringing me? He said, you heard Tommy's got the job? Yes, fantastic. He wants you. We want you.
This is Tommy Hafey, coach of Sydney.
Yeah, and
coach of Collingwood. He coached you at Collingwood.
Yes, he did. And and one of my best friends, him and Maureen. And I said, oh, yeah, okay, that's interesting. And you and him and Alan Swab. And I said, well, yeah, what do you want me to do? We want you to build the game. We want to make the Swans successful. And we want to get ready for a second team. This is in 1985, right? They were visionaries. And you're the man. And I said, when you need me there? He said, Monday. And that was Tuesday. And I was on the plane Monday morning.
MMBW happy to let you go, were they?
Well, I didn't tell them until I got back. I had to give them 2 weeks' notice. But they were government instrument, but the team were really happy for me.
The sewerage system in Melbourne's never been the same since you left.
Oh, the Yarra River, that was my biggest project. I spent 3 years on the Yarra River. It was
trying to clean it up.
It hasn't flooded since, so it was an American program. Look, no, I'm not going to get back involved here.
It's interesting, guys. You've had some fingers in some pies over the
years.
Yeah, look, but back into footy,
that was massive for me. Don't forget. Nick was 6 and Josh was 4. Judy was at home. And I just got on the highway and drove in my Falcon all the way to Sydney, and said, "Here I am," and found a home and it was, and I wrote a business plan called Generational Change with Richard Collis, and it was that it was going to take a generation, because Auskick numbers were about a couple of hundred, or it's called Vic Kick back then. Now it's 44,000.
You couldn't call it Vic Kick in Sydney.
No,
they used to want to kick a Vic.
Yeah.
Remember all the other teams when you played Victoria in State of Origin, kick a Vic?
Right. Yeah. So, look, it was a challenge, and I put a great team together. We worked really hard. And someone said, "What's in?" I said, "Well, Nick will do it all for me." And he was 6.
We're talking about Boofa's son, Nick Davis, and for Geelong supporters like myself, it just sends a shiver down my spine to hear his name mentioned. But here you are with a son playing in the AFL and ultimately playing in a premiership for the Swans.
Yeah, well, he was playing soccer when I got to Sydney. He played soccer with Graham Arnold, was his soccer coach. And he said, "You take him to AFL, I'll shoot you because your kid can play." He had a lot of talent,
What position did he play on the soccer field?
Goalkeeper.
He was the goalkeeper, really? Because
but
he had a hoof, he could kick.
Yeah, and he went out in the field. But he showed a lot of talent. And he's golf. He's a scratch golfer, and we've all watched
the Davis genes.
We've always his dad's grandfather's genes, not mine. And his mum, but no. Look, and that was it. So he spent 15 years after playing his football. He followed in my footsteps. Proudly wore my number at Collingwood. Come to Sydney, had that famous game.
2005, it was the second semi-final, I think, against Geelong at the SCG, and he's kicked 4 in the last quarter.
In the last 10 minutes, The last one was 3 seconds to go. So, and look, he had a great game. And
did you know they're going to go on to win the premiership after that?
They had to beat St Kilda at this, and they were down by 4 or 5 goals at last. But no, who knows?
Yeah, I know. It's sliding door moments. What about for you, 79? I said we'd touch on this. Come on.
About 79.
All right, set the scene for us. The last 5 minutes or so of the game.
Harmsy, and don't forget, I played with 80% of the Carlton players, and Jez is my best mate because Nick is Nicholas Alexander, so Alex Jeslenko is Nick's godfather, and I'm godfather to Benjamin Craig Jezza. So I'm going, this is great. So the game's going on, and I'm on Jeff Southby. It's wet. We're up at 3/4 time. It's a nip and tuck. It's a very tight game, and we played pretty good footy. And look, and Harmsy kicks the boys, and knocks the ball. But that was.
But you'd kick the goal in what, a couple of minutes to go, 5 minutes to go to put Collingwood in front.
Yeah, well. The boys got the ball down to me, and I was just in the right spot at the right time. But Harmsy and I laugh about it to the day.
Do you think the ball was out of bounds?
Who cares?
It was up the other end from you, I guess.
But it was up the other end. But I said, Harmsy says to Collingwood people, it was in by a mile, and he says to Carlton people,
it was touch and go.
Well, vice versa. And I said to Harms, I said, you was that far out, you got me fish and chips, and it was sauce. Anyway, but we laughed, and this is how close Jez and I was. And then, obviously, the siren goes. He's hurt because I tipped him over the top of me and he broke his ankle, and all those sort of things. And he's feeling a bit depressed, and we have the functions that night, And then Sunday morning, I get a phone call from Jezza. How are you, Boofa? Oh, well, you're in a bright mood, I'm in a bad mood. But anyway, that's the way it is. And State of Origin was the next week. But Alex rings me up and said, here you go. So I said, what's up? He said, my gas bottle's running out and all the boys here, can you bring a gas bottle around? So Sunday day, I was with the Carlton.
Gee, wouldn't Collingwood people think you're a traitor for doing that?
No, he said, my best mate. So it was, the game was all over, and it's at footy. And it was an interesting time.
I mean, you, as you might have gathered, ladies and gentlemen, this man is full of incredible football stories, and we could fill up the whole podcast with that. But let's bring it back to muscular dystrophy. You've told us how you got involved with
Camp
the golf
Quality.
Day initially, Camp Quality initially. You ran the golf day.
Then they went into a hiatus for 2 years, and I got angry with Vinny, our mate Vinny. I rang him up and I said, find another charity, because I need to come home again. I need a reason to come home. So we found muscular dystrophy, and we had the golf day. I organised a guest speaker, and I listened to Mick Peters talk about our mate Lucas.
His son.
And I'm crying.
Don't tear up on us now.
Well, you've got to.
Your relationship with the family has been incredible. So it started on that day, did it?
I never met them. Started that day. Right, and the function went on and all that. And Lucas, all his life had been told, his life expectancy was 13. He was 11 that day. He rolls up to me in his wheelchair. Hello, Mr. Davis. I'm Lucas. Never met him. I want you to raise. You and I have got to raise some money. He said, before I die, I want to help some other sick kids. And I'm going, how can I? You can't say no. And look, and people said, where'd you come up with the idea? I mean, ideas. I mean, I'm an ideas man. I don't sleep very often. My head's always spinning. I got my brain's in fast drive all the time. But he's in a wheelchair, so it's going to be called the push, right? And he wanted to raise $50,000. Lucas does not think small. And I'm going, wow, okay, so it was pretty cool.
So his dad's not driving this, it's Lucas himself?
Lucas was sitting there, was there. And I said, and he said, can you go home and think of an idea? So I went home, wrote the business plan. That was 2019. 2020, I come home for the next golf day. We meet at the bakery at Ross. We sit down. I said, here's the business plan, and we can do this. It's the push. It's got to be the big push, okay? And I said, I can't, it's got to be done in a day. I can't do Launceston to Hobart push. I can't do that. So I come in up, I said, well, there's a half marathon. Oh, I thought I can do this. And then someone told me after I signed up for the whole thing, it's the hardest half marathon in the world. And my doctors and physio said...
Didn't you look at the course map?
No,
because
no.
This marathon, half marathon, is not on the flat at Ross. No. This is going from the casino in Hobart to the top of Mount Wellington. And you're going to push... Lucas
kilos.
in his wheelchair, and it's sort of like a racing wheelchair.
Yeah,
it's
right.
not, but it's still it's all uphill. This.
Well, you've done it, so you know what it's like. But it had to be,
I've done it just running or walking on my own, not pushing somebody.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, you've done it, but help me out. But anyway, so bang, big idea. So 2021 comes around, we've raised 80,000 and all that, right? And we meet and we make it all happen. And I say, I'll never, ever do it again, all that. But then Lucas finds out about the Good Friday Children's Hospital pill in Melbourne. And he says, why doesn't Tasmania have one? And I said, Lucas, I've got no idea. And he looks me straight in the eye, just 13-year-old, and just said, find out why not, and let's do it. And I said, Lucas, how much do you want to raise? He said, 2 million. Okay. And we're launching in 2027.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So
the business plan's been done. I've met Bridget Archer, the Minister for Health, and launched it. I got Peter.
So this is not just muscular dystrophy focused. This is right across the board.
This is Lucas saying that all sick kids end up in hospital. So this is Lucas.
And you would have seen the HSV7 telethon, wouldn't you, in Melbourne for the Royal Royal Children's Hospital?
Oh, I did. I was involved with it when I was kids. When they used to rattle the tins, and Jeff Crouch was the umpires director of the AFL and all that. So yeah, look, it was an idea. And I've been watching because obviously Brisbane has one, Melbourne has one. I think Melbourne raised 25 million this year. Perth has one with Channel 7. They have one. So hopefully I'm going to do a telethon and sell virtual seats at our new stadium. and raise the money. So I've got, the ideas are there.
Yeah, and Lucas is still going strong, obviously.
Oh,
He's still riding you, is he, about this?
Yeah, he's 19 now, and he's there. He doesn't let me get away with too much.
And we've met Declan Hill since Lucas. He's sort of become the poster boy for muscular dystrophy.
Well, that's when you got involved in the push, because I said, look, physically it did knock me down. I was on my knees at 16 k's and wasn't going to go.
You said it was the hardest thing physically you've ever done.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
More than all those, I guess. You weren't Kennedy's commandos, never played for Hawthorn, but you would have been doing under Tommy Hafey, for heaven's sake. He must have been put through the ringer.
Yeah, I did. That was 4 hours of just sheer effort. And my doctor and physio said, you can't push a kid up a mountain. I said, well, we're going to have a crack at it anyway. We did it, okay. And then because I said I'll never do it again, because there was about an hour after I did it. And I said, well, okay, you forget a bit out of later. So then Declan rings me up in 2022. And says, Mr. Davis, yes, Declan, how you going? How's the treatment going? Mm-hmm. He said, well, you push Lucas up the mountain, why won't you push me? Someone has set him up big time. And I said, okay, let's do it. But that's when I rang you and Vinny and Mick and said, look, we've got to do it in a relay. And Sambo, Anthony says, my cousin, I said, look, physically I just can't do it.
I think Anthony he helped us a lot a day. Oh, he's a hard goer, isn't he?
Yeah. And then we did the free Capes walk, which was 5 days later, because I wanted to add a bit more.
Seeing as you were down here.
Yeah. We did 35 Ks in 10 hours. But look, it's just the way we are. I mean, the golf days are phenomenal. They're like, I think this is my 17th year. They're like family. I'm just Boofa to them, and we just raise the money, and Johnny X and yourself and Vinny and all the volunteers we have. It's a bit, and people don't understand. It's the biggest golf day in Australia. 36 teams of 4. It's a full house. You can't. So you might have a full house at Melbourne. You might it's Royal Sydney, but you don't have 8 cars up for grabs either. So Kyle Toda, phenomenal, right?
Fabulous supporters.
We've had 20,000 shots for hole in one.
No one's got one. That's right.
The odds are we want to give them away.
It's got to happen. We've been trying to get somebody to knock one in and ace a hole during the golf day. It just hasn't happened. The odds are getting shorter and shorter, though. It's got to happen one of these years. So get your team in, get in contact with Muscular Dystrophy Tasmania for next year's golf day. Get on to Mick Peters and the team. But this year, a few more fundraising initiatives that you've got up your sleeve.
There's no doubt when the golf day finishes, next year starts. Yeah. So we're looking to get Bruce McAvaney as zoomed in, and Brendan Gale, and our mate Crackers is coming back and things like that. But we've got an AFL game at Ross. Haven't had one there.
An AFL? You mean?
Yes.
A roster match in the AFL?
Wow, okay. We haven't had one there for about 2004 was the last game they had there. So the Cameltown Robins, the team I've hated all my life, is going to play University Mowbray in an NTFA game, August 8. And I think that a bloke who used to wear number 2 for the Swans, who Geelong don't like, is going to have a game. So I've got to convince that Nick Davis to come in.
Is he going to kick 4 goals in the last 10 minutes?
I don't know.
You should do a reenactment, really.
Yes,
can you get some of any Geelong players from that era back down?
Yeah. Oh, we'll see. It's work in progress, but it's just great for the community, great for the town, and also fundraiser for us. So Muscular Dystrophy is the designated charity, so we're running a raffle that day. So if anyone's involved in the old days of Ross, we're going to have a great day at Ross.
Because the ground did get into disrepair, and Veterans Cricket Tasmania got involved with some help from Cricket Tas to redo the centre wicket area, and you've been doing a bit of curating up there for us. But footy hasn't been played there recently.
No, Ross ain't had a team for
no goals there.
Posts or anything. All the posts are still there.
They're still there. Okay.
And the ground's in great nick, as you
know,
and the change sheds are fantastic. So, and Simon from the NTFA came down. Peter Gupton, our former premier's the president of NTFA. He's got his pretty thumb up that it can happen. And there are a few things I've got to do. Like anything, the ground's got to be in good nick. So I'm work in progress. But we've got to jump.
That's 8th of August. That's going to be on us before we know it.
That's right. And they're going to wear the old Ross jumpers. So we've got the Ross jumpers redesigned with the old R that Dad wore in 1946 on the front of it, which stands for Ross and Robin. So, it ticks a few boxes. And they're they were the Demons, so they were red and blue. And so look, it's good. It's good. The town's pumped. The local pub, the Ross Hotel's sponsoring the day, and we will have a good time.
All right. So you don't have to be a real footy head to come along, but show your support. How much you're charging to get in?
No idea.
All right, so it's a work in progress. You can pull it together at the last minute. I know. I've seen you in action before.
No, we'll get it there. There. It's a bit of fun, but there's a lot of other things that Danielle's the new a manager of Muscular Dystrophy Tasmania has put some ideas together, and return and earn with some of the sporting bodies are happening. And look, there's every time there's something happening around, we'll be there. Go Orange will be around somewhere to help out.
You've had your own health battles, haven't you? I mean, your footy career looked like it would stalled there after a very promising start.
Oh, do you want to go back that far?
Because you have some empathy with young people, especially that are struggling because of their body letting them down, and footballers are not immune.
I suppose they talked about GWS's 14 goals too in the third quarter last week, and in the game in 1975 at Blues versus Essendon at Windy Hill, we kicked 14 goals 6 in the second quarter. And to stop the rot, there was a few instructions sent out that maybe if I was asleep and not kicking goals, that things might change. But look, it was just one of those things.
You copped a whack in the head.
I knocked out 5 times in one game, and it knocked me around a fair bit. I spent 18 months out of the game because they found out I was an internal haemophiliac, and getting whacked around the head wasn't the smartest thing that was going to happen to me. So look, I could have ended up really, really in a bad way. But things moved on, and look.
You must have been told you shouldn't play football.
Yeah, I walked out of the professor's surgery, and he said, never play football again. And I was 21 years of age. It knocked me around a bit. But to Jez's credit, he said he wasn't going to sign a new contract at Carlton until I was looked after. So I was made assistant coach to Huey Mitchell in the reserves and the runner to Ian Thorogood in the seniors. So I was around the club in 76, and in 77 I got itchy feet, and I decided to join Brent at North Melbourne. I'd found out what was causing my blood disorder.
So your platelets were sort of deformed. Is that rare? It sounds.
It was very rare. I mean, being a haemophiliac, very rare, and that was so. But once that was fixed up, I had no issues since. Today, if someone...
So what, was there some sort of cure for that?
Well, no, there was medication.
Right.
I don't take it now, so if someone whacked, I stay away from getting whacked anymore. So, but no, there was one of those things. And look, there's you see players who struggle. I know that Christian Petrarca, who's one of our ambassadors, and he met Lucas, and he did his knee in his first practice game. We talked through that, and he met Lucas, and Lucas has been through a lot more than Christian, and Christian went, wait on, not woe is me, there's always someone worse off. And Christian became, well, we know his relationship with Lucas. So, look...
moments of adversity, so you can use someone like Lucas as an inspiration, but you've got to have some internal fortitude.
Then there's Neil, of course. Yeah. I mean, people talk about going down the big slides. I did the big freeze at Prospect High School last year. And I went. I hats off to the people who go down into the big slide because.
What, you don't like cold water?
No, not that cold. I think the first bucket stopped my heart. The second one restarted it, and the other 6 put me in hypothermia. But we raised a lot of money. But you just think of the people who are going to benefit from it. And Neil had always said. You had like Jeff Hablett, who was diagnosed at Christmas, and he's not with us today. And Jai Arrow, who's a South Sydney player, was diagnosed.
This is in the rugby league.
Yeah, he's not going to last another 2 months, they say. So it's just it's
the luck of the draw, is it?
But we were lucky that Neil got it and fought it really, really hard and stayed around as long as he could. And
we must say this is motor neurone disease we're talking about, and you might say we're talking about a competing charity. You don't view it that way.
No, they're cousins. The disease, muscular dystrophy with kids, motor neurons with adults. But they are the same gene and the same things that messes up. But we're all got to look after each other. And look, if I can do a quarter of what Neil's done, I mean, it was raised 115 million. We just got to keep going. And said, I think the old John Kennedy, don't think, just do. And I just see things and try and fix it. And I've laughed when I met the Minister of Health the other day. I said, look, I've got a shovel and a wheel back in the back of the ute. I said, I'll come down and start the foundation for the new stadium. She laughed and I said, yeah, at lunchtime I'll start the foundations for the cable car as well. She said, I've heard about you. I said, well, you just got to get in, done.
Get stuck in.
You've got to get stuck in. I mean, and look.
And you only get out of something what you put in. And I think if you put into something like this, your life is more rich for it, I think. So there's a personal benefit from doing all the work you have done, for example, for charity.
Well, you're the patron and you're a friend, right? Vinny's one of my best friends. Mickey Peters is one of my best friends. How lucky am I to have you guys in my life? Really?
Well,
Think about it.
We count ourselves lucky to have somebody like you, an inspiration, and someone such a tireless worker. You are an inspiration. It's wonderful for an organisation like us to have somebody like you who's so involved, and we work hand in hand.
Well, you just see ideas. You go, well, let's have a crack at this. Let's do this. There's an idea. I mean, I know I was involved with Father Chris Riley, which has been 28 years, with Youth Off the Streets, taking kids off the cross and giving them a new start. And we got involved in Return and Earn. What a fantastic
What is the Return and Earn?
Well, that's the cans. You get 10 cents per can per bottle. All we did was put Youth Off the Streets on the Return and Earn things, and we made $400,000 in a month. So it's phenomenal. I created the benefits program, for the bequest program for Youth Off the Streets, which raised $70 million. I got involved with. I was a chairman of the Olympic Task Force. About building things.
This was for Sydney 2000.
Yeah. I said, well, unless you build a spur and put a station there, you go nowhere. And someone said, well, how did you do that? I said, well, the general manager of transport was, I just put him in the car park at Carlton and Swans game at the SCG and told him to put him in the worst spot. Rang him an hour and a half later, and he said, where are you? Still in the bloody car park. I said, what are you trying to tell me? I said, I think I'm sending you a message. Like a punch in the nose. I said, build the spur, build the railway station at Homebush, or things aren't going to work too well.
Because there's any number of examples around the world of main stadiums like that have become total white elephants because of the infrastructure hadn't been put in place. I had no idea that the success of Sydney 2000 had something to do with you.
The crazy thing, I got involved with Michael Knight in 96. I worked 4 years for them and volunteered as the chairman of the group. And there was a lot of great people and maybe a lot smarter than I did. And when the Olympics on, guess where I came? I came home to Ross. And I'd done enough. I'd had 4 years of work, and what I did, I went back and watched the Paralympics because I get more buzz out of that. People achieving great things we are under adversity. So that's it. So that was my involvement. The greatest, Sydney, the greatest Olympics ever. I wouldn't say were. There were a lot of great people involved with that, and I really enjoyed my time.
Yeah, no, New South Wales owes you a lot, but you're back here now in your home, Tasmania.
Well, yeah, look, when I went to the Big Island, I always said I was born in heaven. You guys might end up there if I let you in. And look, Tassie is a beautiful place, and I love the promotion. Come down for air. Jeez, you just look, I look
What,
at
you got a new lease on life since you come back to Ross, do you think?
Oh, I don't know what at least I think I already had that, but I think the hospital, I do volunteer work at Cowan Hospital. They're lovely people.
So you drive people to their appointments.
And they've got to have their chemo and things like that. But there's also some people I drive around to have lunches somewhere. It's 13 lays. I drove to the old Parrata Hotel yesterday. I think it was 15 of us went down there yesterday and met the new guy that's opening up the place there, because that's been closed for decades. So, yeah, look, Tassie's, we're so lucky, but we just got to get progressive. I don't want to become political. We just got to keep our kids here, keep our football team. You know, the crazy thing is that I went to Melbourne to play footy. Well, I wanted to play at home. I wanted Mum and Dad to watch me every week, and my first rep game was a Victorian jumper against Tasmania at Hobart Oval.
This is State of Origin.
That was 1979. So I'm playing Victoria against my own state. Even Mum was barracking against me. And I kicked in goal, and then the State of Origin started, which, you know, and I got my Tassie jumper, and I got my Victorian. I'm very proud of the Victorian jumper. No, I'm not saying that, but I think it's just what's happening, and you know, and then what a phenomenal thing. And I was on the original, you know, I was a volunteer here and consultant with the Premier, Peter, non-paying, of course, it was all non-paying, and we talked about, you know, how we get the foundation membership, and GWS and the Suns got, I think they got 15,000, apples for apples, $10. And we thought 50,000 was going to be it. And they said, geez, that's a bold number. I said, oh yeah, but we're religion in Tassie, we can do this. But to get 216,000 foundation membership, that is unbelievable. And you know, now
it's a great foundation to set the club.
And we've got 25,000
paid up now above more than 10, and then now it's going to the next level to guarantee yourself a seat in the stadium, and that's going to take some doing, you know. Oh, yeah,
but the stadium's going to be the build thing, but filling a stadium, the tickets will be double the price. You can imagine the Devils playing Collingwood down here. And because, you know,
the locals won't get a seat, they'll be complaining.
And Eddie's 100. You heard Eddie at the golf day, 100% behind it. Heard my message to him. I said to Eddie, let us know when Peter and Josh Dacos come play for the Devils, what suburb do you want to live in, son? And look, he's 100% behind, and so is the football world. You know, this is long overdue, and it's going to put us on the world map. Mm-hmm. The world map. You know,
we're getting multinational sponsors lining up, honestly. We're on the same page on this, and there's people that aren't. But, you know, I don't think people that don't understand the football economy understand what this will mean for the state and what it'll do for us. But that's another story. You've got so many. We've covered a lot of ground here today, Boofa. It's been fabulous to have us on, to have you on the Go Orange for Muscular Dystrophy pod. More power to you.
Yeah, I'm very honoured to be an ambassador here for a long time and a good time.
Good stuff, mate. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've been listening to or watching the Go Orange for Muscular Dystrophy Tasmania podcast. To find out more, go to Muscular Dystrophy Tasmania, that's all one word, lowercase, .com.au, or find us on the socials. There's links in the show notes. Muscular Dystrophy Tasmania is supported by Co-op Toyota, and this podcast is supported by Cor Comms.